Hey everybody, it's been a long time.
It has been a long time since we did a team family travels video. How you been?
About a year. I've been good,
Not like
considering.
it's not like we don't live together and been stuck in the house for months together. But shout out to the quarantine. I hope everyone's quarantine has been going as well as to be expected with a
Yeah.
quarantine and a pandemic, so we have had everyone in our prayers and our thoughts. So this will be an interesting video as we will be discussing our plans to leave the United States, to
Yep.
move out of the country.
We are actively planning to move.
Actively planning. And so when we tell individuals, family, friends, and others in our network that we are thinking about leaving the United States, there's always a series of questions, particularly when they find out where we're thinking about going. And there's always these series of questions. So we decided that we will do a series of videos
Yeah.
so that we don't have to continue to answer the same questions, and we can lay out our argument or our reason, not an argument, but our reasoning for leaving the United States, our reasoning for where we decided that we are intending to relocate to. That doesn't seem right. Our intentions of relocating.
Right.
However,
Where
but,
we're planning on going.
where we plan on going.
The full explanation. Because it's quite a bit. And
It's
it's
a bit,
something
yeah.
we've been talking about for a really long time.
And the question that the thing that most disturbs me is that people who ask us why there or why are you going to leave the United States, and then they begin to give this litany of their thoughts on why we should or should not do it. And it's fine because I think it comes from a positive place. I think it comes from a place of caring. However, I don't think they take into consideration that we're intelligent people.
Right. We read.
We know how to read.
We've been doing this.
Right. And we would not make a decision without planning.
Let me play devil's advocate though.
Okay.
Okay, I'm your cousin.
All right.
Say cuz. Go ahead. Well, kick it to me like you would kick it to your cousin.
What's down with your daddy? Because I am from New Orleans.
But seriously though, I'm your cousin. It's been so long. What's going on?
What's down with you? You been good?
I'm all right.
For sure. For
Day
sure.
by day.
How your mom? Is she good?
She good. She good.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. So what's down with you though?
Nothing, man. Just trying to keep from getting this Rona. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just trying to do me. Trying to
Mask
live.
up. You
You
better
know.
hold tight and mask up. Yeah, for sure. So what am I supposed?
You were supposed to say you're thinking of moving.
I'm
the cousin as a naysayer.
Oh, okay, let's go.
I was
Take
wondering
two.
what's taking you so long. Where the hell you going?
I don't
What's
know.
going on? It was good.
That's
but
how I
who
talk to
cares?
my cousins. We about to start talking about criminal shit pretty soon. But
Oh, no.
So we have decided to leave the United States. So this series of videos will answer some of those concerns and some of those questions, and maybe just remind some people that we are thinking individuals.
Right.
So where do we want to kind of start? Because this will
Well,
be at least a 3-part series, is what we're pretty much assuming. So let's start with kind of just a general, like a
The big
general
picture.
Yeah, the big picture
Big.
of what leads to.
Well,
Okay.
but we can talk about, you and I have been traveling. We've traveled several places, right?
1 or 2.
And what we have seen in the last few years is an explosion of interest in traveling outside of just European destinations or the Caribbean. Black Americans being really interested in particularly visiting Africa.
When we were in Marrakesh, we saw those young sisters who were
Right.
from the U.S. and
Doing the Solange pose and all that
all
stuff.
that. That's cool.
Yeah.
But they were in Africa light. Died Africa. But they were still in Africa. They were in Morocco. But So this movement that is taking place as we have traveled, we've noticed we're seeing more. We were in Paris and we were out at the restaurant, ran into a whole group of African Americans.
True.
Right?
True.
So this black travel movement. Now, doing a little research for this this video, we found that Time magazine designated around 2015 was the first time kind of observing the phenomena of this black travel movement that black millennials had now started to travel internationally.
Right.
Now, as students of history, we understand that black Americans were hesitant to travel throughout the United States up until about the 70s or 80s, right? During the 60s, we were, even when you traveled in the 60s, you had to travel by the Green Book, right? You know, stay at certain places, and you couldn't get gas at certain places, and you better not stop in this town because it's a sundown town, and if they catch you there, they're going to kill you. This is in the 60s, right?
Right.
This is,
Our parents were alive.
our parents. My parents definitely were alive. Her parents definitely were alive, definitely.
20 adults.
Adults, yeah. Not like
Young adults.
babies. They were
Right.
grown people. In fact, my sister was born in 1968. How about that?
So this is very recent.
Yeah. So, with that being said, black people had not been traveling internationally much en masse, right? We had a few black folk that would go to the Caribbean.
Yeah, go on a cruise.
Go on a
something
cruise,
like
go to
that.
Jamaica.
Paris.
Every once in a while, you get a Negro go to Paris, right? However, it was around, keep in mind, and I think this is important to understand the dates, the times, the years. Time magazine recognized the black travel movement in 2015. This is so give it a year or two. So maybe they didn't see it, they didn't recognize it in 2015, right? So they didn't catch on to 2015. So 2013, 2012, if you will, black people finally en masse started traveling outside of the United States. Pause. We have been here since 1619, quote unquote free, for over 150 years.
That's arguable.
Arguably, right? However, it was not until 2012, 2013 that black people actually started to travel en masse outside of the country. What does that say about the condition of black Americans? The economic condition,
Right.
the psychological condition, right? And some of the first places, let's be clear, some of the first places that black millennials began to travel, obviously the Caribbean. However, it was Europe, it was Paris.
Yeah.
Right? However, there was three things that I would think, and you chime in.
Okay.
Three things that I think happened that took the African American travel movement focus away from Europe and brought it to the continent. When we say the continent, we mean Africa, right? And those three things were the rise of like YouTube stars, which kind of connected Africans in the diaspora and Africans on the continent. They were able to see another side of Africa, and they were able to communicate.
Right.
Finally, like there was this. Oh, I mean, obviously the internet has been around for a while, but the YouTube videos kind of started to pique interest. Secondly, and really in an odd way, it was the Black Panther movie. 2018, Black Panther's released. Now, what is the significance of that as it relates to an attraction to Africa? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that the reaction from black people everywhere, which was an overwhelmingly positive reaction because it wasn't rooted in one particular country or culture, it was a very almost Pan-Africanist film. So
Right.
everyone saw themselves reflected in that film.
Right.
And that in itself brings some sort of unification around Africanness.
Right. It was a fictional place.
Yeah.
So no one African country could say, this is us. Right. So it was a fictional place. Although also it dealt with the diaspora. You
Right.
had, what's his name?
T'Challa was
T'Challa.
the king, though. Of
No.
Wakanda.
Killmonger.
Killmonger.
You had Killmonger. Shout out to Killmonger. You had Killmonger, who represented the African American, who had been kind of abandoned in this foreign place, or whatever have you.
Yeah.
Now, aside from the storyline, what Black Panther did, it took a fictional place that showed Africa in an extremely different light than what we are used to seeing of Africa.
Still traditional, but advanced technologically.
Advanced technologically, right?
Intelligent, refined.
Right.
So holding on to these traditions, but way ahead.
Way ahead. And no swollen belly babies. No flies. No Sally Struthers walking with the baby with no shoes on dirt, glass, and everything else, and she refuses to pick the baby up, which is weird. However, Africans in the diaspora, in the United States in particular, when the movie came out, for weeks they were dressed in African attire, dashikis, and traditional African wear from wherever they could find something to go and see the movie. There was a spark of pride, right? And we were able, for the first time with Black Panther, to see Africa again in a mainstream movie with a shining, positive light. And finally, we were able to be proud.
Yeah.
The third thing is, and I think maybe they piggyback on the success of Black Panther, Ghana, with the help of Boris Kojo and Nicole
His wife.
Parker, is her name?
Yeah, Nicole Ari Parker, I think.
Okay, Nicole Parker. They did something that was very ingenious. They said, we're going, this year of the return, so Ghana had in 2019 marked 400 years since the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade. And they said they designated 2019 the year of the return.
The year of the return.
And they used a kind of marketing scheme in a positive way, with Boris Kojo and Nicole Parker to get their celebrity friends involved to visit Ghana. My point is this, that there has been a groundswell of African Americans now interested in visiting Africa, as well as returning to Africa. And we are a part of those people.
And the follow-up is amazing, because what you're seeing, this explosion on YouTube and social media of people who've made the move.
Right.
And who are now, talking about their experience.
That's
moving
important.
in different countries, whether it be Ghana or Tanzania or the Gambia or whatever, wherever they're going. And then sharing that with people back here.
Right.
Some of them are setting up places for you to come and stay.
Right.
Like, they're just leave it and let go. Come on, we'll set you up.
What's important about what you said, it is not people who are talking about it.
Yeah.
It's people who already made the move.
Yeah. So it's happening all over the Western world. People, Africans who are growing up in Europe or different, just all over, who are like, we want to go home. This is the rat race. We've been here. We don't really like this quality of life. We're ready to go home and build back home.
Right.
But you know what else has added to this movement is for years since I was in graduate school. So we're talking 2008, 2009. There has been news, there has been research that has pushed the idea that Africa is the future.
The new frontier, the final
frontier. Now, I think that's been available to other communities, not necessarily Black Americans, because this is being talked about in academic circles and institutions of higher education.
Tulane is
about
deep.
and especially in the business world and tech. So fintech, all of these new new technologies that are being developed. They're saying Africa is a great place to test these because it's largely unregulated, and there's just so much untapped potential, and the amount of youth coming up in these countries, it's just booming with opportunities. So, I feel like African Americans are a little late in getting this information.
The lag again.
But it's never too late.
Right. So, what are some of the big reasons that we are leaving.
So,
They kill black people. In America?
affordability.
Let's talk about it. So, affordability.
Yep.
As African Americans, we are, as Isabel Wilkerson said in her book, caste. We are a bottom caste. We are poor, en masse, right? We don't have access to a lot of capital, to a lot of wealth, to when you look at all of those social disparities, we are at the bottom of the rung.
Yeah. And we're not talking income.
Income.
I'm talking wealth.
Different words.
Very different. If you look at what we have at the end of the day, what we're worth, it's not looking
Zero.
good. It's not looking good for the home team.
Right? So, what we have, one benefit that we do have as black Americans is that we earn money in the U.S. dollar. And the U.S. dollar is very strong. It's a strong currency, the strongest, some would argue, in the world. Right? So, we earn money in the U.S. dollar. So, I like to give this example. I looked at some statistics recently. Every year, I think there's about 2 million Mexican immigrants that come to the United States, right? And I'm using Mexico because this is the information that I found. Out of those 2 million, about 1.3 million Mexicans return to Mexico. Not saying those exact same ones who came return, but there's an exchange rate, right? So 2 million come, there's movement. 2 million come, 1.3 leave. Why are they coming and why are they leaving? I estimate that they are coming based on a simple economic summation. The U.S. dollar is stronger than the Mexican peso, which means that they can come to the United States, earn U.S. dollars, and send their money to Mexico, and have that U.S. dollar have a greater purchasing power in Mexico. So they can begin to set themselves up with nice homes, send their children to nicer schools, invest that money into a business,
help their families
back home. And that 1.3 that leave every year are leaving because at some point they maybe, this is not all of them, but some of them have amassed enough U.S. dollars that when they return to Mexico, they can finally live well. They can move from one class to another class. They can be able to invest money. They can live comfortably. So they have taken the U.S. dollar and they've worked for it and extracted the value of that U.S. dollar and multiplied it in Mexico.
Right.
They're not the only ones who do that.
This dollar, it's expensive to live here.
Expensive.
Your dollar that you make is going out the door.
Every dollar.
Every dollar.
Right? I know some people who struggle
to
to save $100 and $200 a month. Right? Like that is, let's keep it 100. There was a time when we struggled to save $100 and $200 a month. Right? That was a struggle. Every dollar that we had was accounted for, and we had more bills than we had money. So we know that life, right?
And we weren't buying clothes. Y'all see me, I got the same hair every time you see me. Nails aren't done, haven't been done yet. Makeup's not getting bought. All of these things that people, they assume you spend a lot of money on.
Right.
We weren't doing.
No,
we were living.
We were paying
a mortgage, a car note, trying to send our children to school. Or daycare. Which is
daycare was like $600 or $700.
And that's pretty affordable. Some people are paying almost $1,000 a month in childcare.
And we had 2 children that were at one time in daycare.
Live.
So we were straight up in the struggle. Alhamdulillah, we good. Nah.
We was in that struggle.
But we were in the struggle, so we know what it's like to try to save $100 and you can't save it. I remember having a conversation with Adrian saying, if we could save $50 a month, maybe we could take us a cruise. You remember that? That was sad.
That was sad.
That's sad. But that's the condition that black Americans are in, so we have no home country. However, for those of us who manage to make it out of the struggle and make it into what somewhat of a middle class environment, you can take 30,000 in US dollars and live very comfortably in places like South Africa, Tanzania. I mean, $30,000 a year.
Yeah, that's a salary.
That's a salary. And so if you're able to save money, or let me say this, if you're able to earn US dollars, however you are able to earn those dollars, salary or income from a business, there's a way.
Online work,
Online
virtual
work. There's a way of taking that money and multiplying it, as the Mexican brothers and sisters do, by investing into another currency where your US dollar has more purchasing power. For example, to buy a one bedroom apartment in Johannesburg in the nicest neighborhood, the nicest section of Johannesburg, Sandton, you can get you a nice one for about $30,000. That's the price of a car in the United States.
Not the nicest car.
Not a nice car.
You'd be all right, but
You might get a little Civic or something. Maybe a Accord.
you probably get you an Accord.
You can get a little Accord. It won't be a nice Accord. It won't be top of the line. But
You can't get nothing to live in.
you can't get nothing to live in for 30,000.
Not
Not at
anything
all.
you want to live in.
And I'm talking about not 30,000 down. I mean, 30,000 is paid
in
for.
full.
Yeah, paid in full. So that's what I mean. You could multiply your money. Your US dollar has purchasing power in different countries throughout the world, and in particular on the continent.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why we're like, okay, it's an economic decision. We are doing okay in the United States.
Yeah.
If we were in Tanzania, we would be balling out of control. How about that? How about that? We would be balling out of control. Right now.
And another thing though, it's what you can buy, but it's really about wealth building. We have 2 children. We want to be able to leave them better off than we came in. I mean, every generation looks to make life better for the children that they bring into the world.
You have to, we Muslim, you have to leave an inheritance.
Right. And I just think we can do more for them elsewhere.
Definitely.
Because we can
Multiply our money.
multiply our money elsewhere. They can inherit
More.
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 And so that sets them up better.
They don't have to
Sets
be
them up
introduced to. There's a statistic, and I think it was 7 out of 10 black middle class children will end up falling back into poverty. I don't want my children to fall back into poverty.